Hey guys, are you looking for free fonts to use for your app, website, or just for fun? Maybe you found a video or picture online, but you have no idea which font was used? Well, in this video, I'll show you how to get free fonts to install on your computer or just use them over the web. And plus, we'll use a tool to figure out the name of a font so you don't have to waste time searching for it yourself. Right now, the #1 popular site for fonts is 1001freefonts.com. They have a huge list of fonts that you can use. Once you find a font that you like, just click on download. You'll get a sneak preview of what each character looks like with that font. Downloading a font will typically give you a zip file, which is completely fine. To install it on your computer, all you have to do is head to where you downloaded the file. And right after that, you want to open up the zip archive and then just click and drag the font to extract it to your folder. Right click the file and you have the option to install it for your user or all users on the PC. You can also just open up the file to make sure that it's the right font and then click install. To check if this worked, you can open the start menu, look for fonts from the control panel, then just search for the one that you installed and you'll see it showing up. So in this case, I installed Degrassi, and of course, Windows lets you preview the font in several different sizes. But where are the fonts stored? So if you head to C Drive, Windows, Fonts, you'll easily find it there as well. And now for those of you who use Mac OS, you can pretty much follow the same steps by double clicking the downloaded zip file, then heading to the folder where it was extracted and then double clicking the font file. You'll find an option to install it, and once you do, you can search for it in your list of installed fonts on the Mac. So at this point, you can easily start using the font. And pretty much all it takes is for you to type or select the text that you want and then easily change the font to the one you installed. So if you followed my video on creating a website or blog, you might find that you can open up a page, change the font to what you've installed, and then see that font get applied right away. However, this is only going to work for people who have that font installed on their device. And the solution to this problem is to use Google Fonts. That's another popular site for getting free fonts online. Just head to fonts.google.com and there you'll find plenty of free fonts to choose from. So they have a pretty clean UI and you can filter fonts by different categories or themes. And also, unlike other font sites, Google Fonts are truly free and you can use them anywhere. This includes commercial use or for your logos. To get a good feel of which font works best, you can also type in some text on the top left of the page. Then you'll get a preview of how it looks on each option. But if you know which font you want, just search for it and then click Get Font. So here you'll have two different options. You can either download it or get the embed code to use for your website. So let's assume you have a blog or a website and you want to use this without having to install it. So for example, I have a blog here to showcase graffiti, and my goal here is to replace the headings of each blog post to use a different font. First, you'll need to copy the code for your head tag, and if you open up your web app or HTML, this should basically be placed at the top inside the head container. Right after that, head back to Google Fonts and copy the CSS class styling to your clipboard. Jumping back to your HTML, look for your CSS inside the head tag and paste it there. And by the way, if you see a uniqueifier, just replace it with something that works for you. Also, if a class already exists where you want this font applied, just use the CSS styling there. Once you're done here, just save changes to your website, and if I head back to my blog and then refresh the page, that font should instantly get applied to each of my blog headings without even installing it. But sometimes it makes more sense to just download the font instead. For example, here I have a blog and I need to change the font inside this image to the one I used in this header. For any modern web browser like Google Chrome, just right-click the text and then click Inspect. Then take a look at the font family property and you can see it's called Pacifico. So if I head back to Google Fonts, I can try to search for this specific font. Thankfully, we found it. So now we'll click on the font and then get it downloaded to our computer. Right after that, let's extract the font from the zip archive and then get it installed like any other font. And now I have the image open in Photoshop, but you should be able to use any image editor available on your computer. But basically, I can now select the text on the image, replace the font with Pacifico, which is the one that we just installed, and then save changes to this image so I can hopefully test it out on my blog. And finally, if I head back to the blog, I can simply refresh the page and see that the image font matches the same exact font as my header. And now for a situation where you have a design or a picture with a font that you want to use, but you have no idea what the font is or where to get it. No problem. From Google, you can search for "what the font" and then click on the font finder, which should be your first search result. Once you're on the site, just go to wherever your design or image is and then click and drag the picture on the page to upload the image. Right after that, you can crop the image down to the area where the unknown font is actually located. Then click on Identify Font to have this tool start analyzing it. Now you can scroll through all the matching fonts that it found. But unfortunately, for some fonts, you might not find an exact match. But you can certainly go back up, click Back to Image, and then try cropping the image even further to identify the font. So for example, I cropped this image down to just one word. And so now I'm getting slightly better results than before, which brings me closer to the font I'm looking for. And now, let's say you need to find a font that matches a specific design or theme. A great site that gives you free fonts for different themes is DaFont.com. And just like the others, they have a pretty big and diverse selection. What I would recommend is jumping straight to their themes and then narrowing down to what you're looking for. So for example, let's jump to cartoon themes and go with this one called Dynamics. The download process is nothing new here since it's in the form of a zip file. So let's get this extracted to our computer and then installed so we can actually start using it. By the way, I chose a cartoon theme because here I have a web application for an online comic store. And the header of the website doesn't look too promising. But since I have the font installed, I can simply apply it here if I jump to my web directory, open the HTML file in any text editor, then replace the font to Dynamics, which is what I just installed. And now going back to the comic store page, let's refresh, and this certainly looks a lot better and fits the theme of the comic store. And now for our next site that offers free fonts, we're going to be heading to fontsquirrel.com. So even though this one offers free fonts, there are cases where you might find something perfect. But as soon as you get closer towards download options, you'll get redirected to sites with big price tags for various usages of the font. So if you want something free from FontSquirrel without paid options, look for download options that aren't labeled off-site. And that'll give you that good old zip file that you're looking for. And now, my last example is for people who don't necessarily need a font, but instead, you want to create a design for a card or an email using a nice font. No problem. Let's head to tools.picsart.com, and from there, hover over text, then click Font Generator. Start by typing in your text and then scroll through various types of font options on the page. Once you find something that you like, click on that font. And this font generator gives you 2 ways to use this font. So for example, if I click copy and then head to a draft I have of an email, I should be able to paste that text here using the same exact font without having to do extra steps like downloading or installing. But let's say you wanted to create a custom card online. You can simply search for a font style that you like. Then by using the editor, you would click add to design. Picsart lets you play around with various different font styles. And once your design looks good, you can download it in JPG format, which is a free option. And then of course, you can use the exported image anywhere you want without having to manually get the font yourself. And by the way, just because fonts are labeled free, not all of them can be used commercially. So for example, this graffiti style font that I used earlier in this video is truly free, and the website clearly tells you that you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. But the Dynamics font that I tried to use in a blog is free for personal use only. And for situations like this, you'll have to request for permission from the font owner to use it commercially. But if you want to make it easier to find free fonts to use for any kind of project, you can typically filter out fonts that are under public domain and free. So 100% free and public domain go hand in hand. So sometimes checking one option will automatically check the other. Well, I hope this video taught you how to get free fonts and plenty of ways to use them. Thanks for watching. And for more on free fonts and creative ways to use them, please consider subscribing to this channel.